Welcome back to Bills and Business. I'm your host, Laura Carr, co-founder of USLege, where we bring you in-depth discussions with key players shaping Texas's business and legislative landscape. Today, we're thrilled to be joined by a powerhouse in the world of legal reform, Mary Tibbs. Mary serves as the Executive Director for Texans for Lawsuit Reform, or TLR, an organization that's been at the forefront for transforming into a model of common sense legal reform for the last 3 decades. From tackling the Wild West era and defending the economic principles that make Texas a beacon for families and businesses. Let's dive in. Well, speaking of session, we'll get into some stuff, Mary. Thanks for coming on the show. And for those who don't know you, I know most do, but for any listener who doesn't, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
I'm Mary Tibbs. I'm the Executive Director of Texans for Lawsuit Reform. I've been there since 2003.
Okay.
It was very serendipitous. I got a call from Dick Weekly, our founder's college roommate, who's also a family friend, and said, get down here. Come talk to us about tort reform. What a lot of people don't know about me, I have a degree in Latin American Studies. And
I did not know that.
Yes, and had been living in Mexico. So tort reform in Mexico is non-existent. So they brought me on for the 2003 session when they were trying to transform from a Houston-based association to an Austin-based association. And here I am 22 years later.
How wild. Were you doing anything political in South America?
No, just marketing. No, I was new business development.
How cool. So this was your first stint in politics, and you obviously got the bug.
Completely.
You stayed. Can you tell us a little bit more about TLR for those listeners who don't know?
TLR was founded by gentleman Dick Weekly, the ever-ready bunny, and 3 other gentlemen whom in the 90s, 60 Minutes did a special on the tort tax. And anybody doing business in Texas, because of litigation, paid a tort tax. And he said something needs to be done. So they came to Austin. They thought they could get it done in one session and realized, this is every session, something that affects industry and business in the state comes up.
I was reading a little bit more just on the TLR website, and there was in the 70s and 80s, I was reading that Texas was known as the lawsuit capital of the world.
Yes.
Can you say more about that? That is crazy stat.
Yeah. John Stommel did a special on it. I mean, it was all over the news. And Dick just said, I've had enough, and we've got to do this. And so Dick, Leo Lindbeck, Hugh Rice Kelly, and Dick Trabulsi all banded together, went statewide to build our network of our supporters to get them involved. And it's been very successful. And I'm blessed to work there.
For sure. What is your primary role at TLR now?
As the executive director, I like to say I am the director of engagement.
Okay.
Our general counsel and our president, Lee Parsley, he's legal, I'm people. And it works, it's a nice balance.
You need that.
Yeah.
You definitely need that in there. So you mentioned how these lawsuits were really impacting businesses. Can you speak to how you've seen that change over the years since you've been there in Texas?
Well, I'll have to say, while I've enjoyed all the things that we've done through the years, my favorite session, we were dealing with the dredging community, which are like, the what? Texas has no natural ports. And so they have to be dredged constantly to facilitate the shipping. And there was an attorney out of Houston who found something in the Jones Act where you could sue anywhere you wanted. So he would have these runners in the shipping community. Somebody fell down, never reported it, never went to a doctor, and next thing you know, the dredging company was being sued in Laredo, which doesn't seem fair if it was happened in Houston at the port. So we worked with this group of dredgers, and what salt of the earth these gentlemen were, and women, Port Lavaca, Houston, Baytown, they came and walked the halls with us, and we were able to pass a bill to help them. And we've seen it day in and day out. I mean, they're dredging our ports now to accommodate bigger and better ships.
What other industries have you seen it affect over the years?
Well, in 2003, we passed the medical malpractice reform that I have to say that, from what I'm told, I'm not an attorney, that the medical community in Texas has the best legal atmosphere of any other industry in the state. They are protected from malpractice lawsuits. You you'd go to Brownsville and you'd come out of the emergency room at the hospital there, and there was a huge billboard. Have you been, had medical malpractice? Well, none of that exists anymore.
Interesting. What other industries specifically does this impact the most?
Well, if you bring it to present day,
yeah,
the template that was used for medical malpractice has evolved through the years. And now we are seeing it in every industry in the state. 40% of funeral homes don't have insurance because of the litigation that's affecting their industry. People can sue because they didn't like the flowers. The body was unable, they couldn't bury the body, the casket, because there's water in the hole. There are all sorts of litigation. There is all sorts of litigation currently affecting them. You can't drive down a highway in the state of Texas without seeing a billboard for some sort of, have you been in an accident? It was trucking, but now that trucking is gone on to all industries. And as a result, in 2021, we worked with the trucking industry to pass House Bill 19 to help alleviate some of the litigation they were suffering. In that session, we created the Keep Texas Trucking Coalition and had about 800 members. Well, because the litigation has gone so far now, we've created the Lone Star Economic Alliance that is representative of every industry in the state. We have probably 35 associations, and then the rest of 1,000 members are just mom and pops of every pest control, funeral home, dairy farmers, etc., that are impacted by higher insurance costs. Because that's what it all boils down: more litigation, higher insurance, cost of goods.
So what is the main goal of the Lone Star?
We have a legislative package that we're hoping to pass this next session that deals with a lot of this litigation. We're not going to get down in the litigation weeds. I'll make a fool of myself. Deals with excessive medical expenses in the cases. Oftentimes when you call an attorney that you see on a billboard, they'll say, don't go to your doctor, don't use your insurance, come go to my doctors and we'll pay for it and we'll talk about it later. Well, those doctors are not held accountable for their charges. They can say, if you or I went to a chiropractor, we'd pay $100. Well, they can charge $1,500. So we just like to see some transparency in the medical expenses in these lawsuits.
And are most of these businesses small, large?
Across the board.
How do they get involved if they are interested in
Oh,
joining?
the LSEA,
yes.
TX.com.
Okay.
Or Mary@tortreform.com. Email me or sign up online. We'd love to have you and hear your story, more importantly, because, as lobbyists, Laura, you know this, we can go to the Capitol all day long. But the members, they want to hear from their constituents. And that's really why we created ELSE, was to gather the constituents who can get their voice heard at the Capitol.
Very cool. We've seen a lot of legislation over the last 20 or so years. What has been the most significant changes that you at TLR have implemented?
Well, I think what I said in 2003, HB4 is historical, and several other states have tried to copy it in their own versions to put caps on medical malpractice. And I think, like I said, the medical community's legal atmosphere, there is no litigation per se compared to what they were having. There was in Texas, over 3/4 of the counties in Texas prior to HB4 did not have an OBGYN to deliver babies. People were driving hours upon hours, and now they're all coming back.
Wow. What are some of the kind of upcoming priorities that you're looking at? You've already made such big strides, but what are some of the big things this session that you're focused on?
Well, as I mentioned, the transparency in the medical expenses. Public nuisance, you may have read some about cities and states around the country suing people for cigarette butts on the ground. The companies, what was the one the other day I heard of? Hyundai. They sued Hyundai as a public nuisance because their cars are too easy to steal. Hello. And so we'd like to bring some clarity to that as well and get some legislation passed so that it's being used in the proper fashion.
Interesting. No, it's always fascinating to hear those unique stories. I'm sure, yeah, the Lone Star Economic Alliance will bring a lot of good folks to the Capitol.
Yeah, there's a thing called nuclear verdicts, and that's where the Lone Star Economic Alliance is really focused. Texas has more nuclear verdicts, and what that is the verdict of over 10 million.
Okay.
We have more of those than every other state in the United States.
Still to this day.
Now,
why is
and
that?
That's because of our legal environment, and a lot of it is because of the the medical expenses. I'll give you an example. Gentleman is in his pickup truck going to a church picnic in East Texas. A truck hit, just bips him. Police come, sheriff comes, Are you okay, sir? I'm fine. No problem. Everything's great. Goes on to the church picnic. 2 days later, his father says, well, son, you need to talk to an attorney. And Dad, I'm fine. I'm okay. Well, then they go to trial, his medical expense, and it was an $80 million judgment.
Wow.
I'm fine, Dad. I'm okay. I don't need a medical assistance, everything. We've got to get some clarity in this process, in the system.
Wow. Well, you've been very politically active over the years with
Yes.
TLRPAC and very, how do you get involved in choosing which elections to get involved in? There's like some toss-up seats. There's some more controversial elections.
A lot of research. Nothing we do at TLR. If that's the legislatively, the PAC, we also have a judicial fairness PAC. We research the heck out of all of it to make sure that we're making the right decisions.
In line with your priorities.
Yes.
Essentially. And then as far as this upcoming, we're past November now, which is great. We have one more, the speaker's race. Are y'all getting involved in that one?
Absolutely not. You will see on Twitter that we are, but we are not involved. We never have been since I've been at, the history of TLR. We've never been involved in a speaker race, and we've left it to the will of the House.
That makes a lot of sense.
So don't believe what you read.
Can we ever?
Right.
Can we ever? Well, we're looking at that. What has been, the most significant win for y'all this year in regards to?
Oh my gosh,
legislative.
Well, it was legislative, but JFPAC was involved in 25 Court of Appeals races around the state in 4 different areas. We won 24 of those 25 races.
Oh, wow.
It was huge.
So what's kind of the broader impact on the average Texan who doesn't know necessarily about the efforts you're working on? What would you say to the average person to explain what you do?
Which arm of the leg, or which arm of the stool, our legislative, our PAC, or JFPAC?
Sure.
Yeah. Everybody needs to have the ability to go to court. We don't want to take I've gone to court, others in the organization, but we want a fair and balanced system. And when you go, you want to make sure that you have the best judge, and your day in court it's not slanted in any way. And so we want it fair and balanced. And that's all we're looking to do. And the same at the legislature. We can go into offices that we know we're going to agree to disagree, but just hear us out. And that's all we ask.
Sure. Focus a lot at the state level,
Mm-hmm.
Texas for Lawsuit Reform. Are you at the national level?
Never.
And why is that?
We've just never done our founders are active nationally, federally, but we got our hands full in Texas.
Sounds like it, for sure.
And we were always very complimented we get outreach from other states and ask us to come and tell them how we did it and advise them on how they could replicate. No bigger compliment than that.
Sure. Yeah. Imitation's the most sincere form of flattery.
Yes.
What would you say is kind of a big threat coming up this session?
We're always on defense. The biggest threat, I don't know yet. There'll be one, and there'll be a fight, but it's always, fighting our bills and trying to get them heard and in committee and on the floor. But something always pops up. Last minute, somebody will say, "Hey, did you know about this?" And then we're on it.
What keeps you motivated going through the battles sometimes in politics?
The people I work with. I am so, like I said, I'm so blessed. The team at TLR is very familiar. We are small and we are mighty, and we work hard and we celebrate together because it's all for one and one for all.
How many people? Is that small?
There's 7 in Austin, and then we have 4 in Houston.
That is that we have 11 people on our team. About to expand it.
And 7 is big for us. We weren't just 5. We just have 2 new attorneys that joined us.
Wow. Yes, I know one of them. Very interesting. So as far as you said other states reach out to you and ask how they could replicate it. What kinds of tips do you give them?
Well, it's unfortunate because the first one is you have to have a leader like Dick Weekly. Dick Weekly is passionate about what he does for TLR. He is the most incredible fundraiser. There's nobody in the whole country like Dick in his fundraising. And so that's a disadvantage to someone else to have somebody with his knowledge and his abilities and his Rolodex. But, start small. If we went to, Kentucky, we'd just say, pick a bill, find some advocates, and let your voice be heard and be unified. And that's where you start.
Best practices for advocating and all of that. What do you recommend for someone coming in?
Coalition building. I think that the more people that you have that are in support of the same issues, it's helpful. Yeah, the bigger the better. Dick Weekly has raised us. Dick is an unusual individual that every dollar he asks you to put in, he's already going to put it in himself. So when you have somebody that believes in that such conviction, that's why he is so successful. Yeah, he is one of a kind.
Are you looking forward to this session?
I am. It's going to be interesting. We have a lot of new members, and I don't know if you've met the freshmen. They're a great group of people, very diverse, a lot of energy. I think the most energetic group that I've ever experienced at my time at TLR.
Interesting. I love that. I feel like probably because there's a lot of new people, new faces. What else do you see? Why they're so energetic?
They're informed. They take the time to learn. Other freshmen oftentimes come in and they're deer in the headlights. They don't have a clue. But this class seems to have, as a group, and they have a text trend that they all, are sharing information constantly. They're really preparing themselves in advance.
When I moved to Austin,
I remember we had lunch that Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
I do. You were one of
the
first people that I met from Harold Kim.
Yeah.
Shout out to Harold if you're watching. I get to see him when I go back to DC, and I'm really happy he connected us, and you helped send my resume around and connect me with some.
It's funny how it goes around.
And those ladies that were at that table, I still am in touch with now and see, and so yeah, it was very influential. But when I moved here, I did feel it was more of a nonpartisan landscape, where people
Agreed.
really worked across the aisle. Didn't really matter about party as much, and I had just come from DC where it seemed very you had to stick with one party, or people were very angry and animosity, and it was very polarizing. So I have seen it changed in Texas.
Yeah, it definitely. And we're not sure how it'll all play out.
I think things will always work themselves out.
I think so too. Time.
And people just communicating and talking, that's the best thing. I think the internet has probably caused more trouble with social media, with people not actually just communicating about their topics.
Yeah, people need to get off that X.
Well,
or just ask somebody they're straight on.
Yeah, absolutely. Get on to subscribe. Get on to watch this
right,
show.
Exactly.
For sure, but yeah, less argument.
And I think that will come out in this session when people realize hey, I got to get my bills passed, and I'm going to have to work across the aisle, and it's not so bad. I've seen some unique relationships build with desk mates that could not be any more different, completely different, that have turned into lifelong friendships. And it's beautiful to watch because they just come in with such perception, and then there's bonds that are built.
You have to. I mean, you're in the trenches for hours and hours a day.
Oh yeah, miserable.
Yes, it's cold in there.
It is cold.
That's the biggest problem for me. I'm always freezing my butt off.
You got to come get a TLR blanket.
Thank you. I'll come grab one.
Yeah.
What is one of the craziest stories that you can share from one of these legislative sessions?
Oh, well, there's so many. As if it's the office, it's people coming to the office with two totally different shoes on, and it's April or early May, and it's like you're hobbling into the office and you don't even notice because you have on two shoes with two different heels, or you accidentally answer the remote control for the TV when you think it's your phone and you don't understand why they're not talking back. We have a lot of stories like that, and we laugh constantly. There was a former member who was late night, had a bill that was very controversial, and said, and Mary Tips says she likes this bill. Well, I could have died. I never discussed the bill with the gentleman. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. I mean, oh my God. But everybody knew that was not the case, and he quickly apologized in the heat of the moment that he spoke wrong. But things like that. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's not why I want my name in the register.
Funniest tale at the Capitol?
Oh, I'm going to leave that to somebody else.
Really?
Yeah.
I already told Brandon the other week about my car totaling situation.
Oh, were you the one that went through the things?
Yes.
Yeah, when they first installed them? I never knew that was you.
First installed. There have been multiple people. I'm curious to know if anyone out there is listening who's had the same thing happen to them. Please tell me. Make me feel better. But I heard it's not just me.
I'm sure it's not.
Yeah,
I'm sure it happens all the time. Yes, there was a member that did it last session.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember now who it was.
It's scary. It
was on the phone, talking, not thinking, and went right through them.
Oh, I'm blaming the barricades.
Absolutely. Damn barricades.
I stand. It came up. It just timed out on me.
Oh.
It's a whole thing.
Oh, well, I will say one of my favorite things, too, about session is that we sponsor puppy paws and making laws during the session. And we used to just have it once every session, but it's become so popular, we partner with Austin Pets Alive. And we're going to do it once a month, weather permitting.
Way.
And they bring a litter of puppies, and it's twofold because we want the puppies to be adopted, but we also do it for stress relief because who doesn't want to smell puppy breath? Yeah. And just come and hug. And I've seen members and staff members come and just hold a puppy and cry. Oh. And it's just such a sweet occasion.
I've been to it.
Yes, you have.
I do.
I have some pictures.
They're so cute. I know we have a friend who just got a puppy who's this big, and it looks like a fake dog. And not the time for us to get a dog right now with in the business, right. But I'll come by. I would love that.
Good. So. Well, just come by and smell. Yes.
Well, anything else you'd like to share with us,
Mary? I really would hope that anybody that has an interest, has been sued, we have fortunate that we have quite a few members of the legislature that have trucks, fleets, and businesses that are could potentially have lawsuits, so they're well informed. But if you've got a story to tell, or you're worried about your insurance or your company, please www.lseatx.com. Love to have you.
That's how they can reach you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Merry Christmas.